terms of reaching out to Scorpion, I mean, the first thing I did was just go to the website, looked at Scorpion, looked at ConciergeUp. It looked it was incredibly intuitive and incredibly broad in terms of the architecture. So my first thing was kind of outlining, what was my project, what was I looking to accomplish, and a little bit of the backstory on that was it's been a medical anomaly that I've been dealing with essentially for 25 years. That 3-4 years ago I moved to Boston in hopes of being closer to some of the best doctors in the world would give me access to better answers or at least better questions. And after 2 years of basically a futile effort on that front, Scorpion seemed like something kind of outside of the box, something like they had more at their disposal than traditional a medical background. And so essentially all I did was I constructed, here's my problem, here's what I'm looking to accomplish, is this something you guys could potentially work with? And they got back to me instantaneously almost via email and said, yeah, I think that is something we can take care of. Can we set up a call? And so they organized a call with my project manager, and essentially we ran through in about an hour kind of the same stuff of here's what I'm looking to accomplish, here's my entire backstory. It's a little unique, it's very odd. I've never come across anybody else that was capable of handling it on the medical front. Is this something you guys have the resources to tackle? And I got the answer of yes, this is absolutely something that we can look into. We've got people that we think could help you. So let's start to tackle this. And that would basically be running some additional tests, compiling 25 years of medical histories and tests and everything that's gone on, and kind of creating a macro view so we understand where we are, where we've come from, and then ultimately, let's orchestrate a game plan for improving this and really getting us to a solution. The process in terms of the timeline, once we started to undertake this project, was really starting from the beginning and compiling 25 years of medical records, doctor's appointments, blood tests, etc., to get a full macro understanding of exactly what I'm dealing with and a full scope view, because ultimately they were going to be reviewing this not just purely from a medical standpoint, but from a spirituality and the whole gambit of everything you would consider to be health. And so for that they needed a very detailed history. So that was about a 2-week process in terms of compiling all this data, and then effectively we did a series of additional blood tests to get a baseline in terms of where we were. And the goal was, and this was the expectation set from the get-go, was this was going to be at least a year project. I mean, our time horizon was 365 days, and over that time period, the goal was to diagnose what is the issue and then ultimately create a game plan that is going to treat and be successful. The teams were fantastic, and this is really what I felt was kind of the benefit of working with Scorpion, is their Rolodex is so diverse and so broad that from the first meeting it wasn't here's the doctor that we think is the best fit for you. It was here's the best body specialist that we're also going to incorporate. Should we add a nutritionist? Should we add this? Should we add that? And so in my first visit out to work with the doctor and the team, it wasn't simply just doing blood work, getting a review of kind of where I stand, but it was also getting a full body workup in terms of what do my muscles look like? Where is their tension? Where is there residual damage from years of beating up this body? In terms of responsiveness and expectations being set, my project manager exceeded expectations. I mean, she was so on the ball with everything. And the one issue I had is being a little bit of a type A individual. I typically like to be in control of a lot of things. So when we were planning trips out to see the doctor and organizing logistics around itinerary, etc., I always wanted to have my hand in the cookie jar. And the issue is that she's so helpful and so on the ball that if I had just let her do 100% of it, it would have gone it went incredibly smoothly to begin with, but it could have just been so easy in terms of orchestrating flights. Legitimately, if I had dietary needs, they were prepared to have a chef or somebody to come by to provide basically food and personalized cooked meals to me while I was traveling. So they will literally cover everything. She was prepared to cover everything that I could potentially need. And in terms of timely fashion, anytime I had a question or anytime I reached out, I was getting feedback or an answer or response essentially instantly. So it couldn't have been better. In addition to all that previous stuff, one of the great value adds was just her wealth of knowledge outside of my particular case. So one of the interesting things is when she's learning about new technologies or new studies or new information coming to light that could or could not be related to my particular case, she was constantly sharing it with me. And so one of the great things was if I had questions about kind of unique new science that I may have just been curious about, she always seemed to have an answer for me. So being up to date on cutting edge technology and where science is going, that was also kind of hugely beneficial that I certainly could not have gotten anywhere else. So in terms of doubts or, where was the trajectory in terms of expectations, I personally did not have doubts. I thought that this was, the end all be all in terms of the Grail. But there was doubts that came in from friends and family when I told them the story and said, I'm thinking about working with this group. They're kind of unique. They kind of do anything. Their slogan is any funded needs. That really means anything. And the response I got was, how can they attack any problem? How can they be, for your particular case, how can they be better than the best minds at the best hospitals in Boston or in the country? And the notion is, my problem is a problem like any other, which is there's a structure to it and a series of steps that need to be addressed. And in terms of problem solving, that's their bread and butter. They have not only a Rolodex of the best people to reach out to for any problem, but they have the ability to systematically break down a task, even as complex as a medical one, and begin to figure out what are the parts that we need to address and what's the most systematic and effective way in order to address those and ultimately have a great outcome. And so honestly, in terms of consulting firms, if they can handle a medical problem that has stumped many of the finest physicians in this country, I think they can really take on anything at this point. So my first call with my project manager, I guess I would describe it, I would roll back and say that going into doctor's offices, you're constantly giving your sales pitch in terms of what are my ailments, here's my background, here's my history that's led me to this point, here's what I believe to be wrong with me, or what do you think is wrong with me? And typically, in a setting like that, they are going to tease out one or two things that resonate with them, that they feel is relevant to their specialty or their area, and then try to treat or attack those different areas. And oftentimes they neglect large portions of the information that I've just provided that, I personally believe to be relevant. And, I've done this dozens and dozens of times with different specialists in different fields. And the thing that I found different about my first call with my project manager was after an hour of talking, at least it felt that she truly understood where I was coming from. She felt that all the information was in fact relevant, and it seemed to resonate with her in terms of this is something that we can absolutely tackle, but by no means is any of this irrelevant. So I thought that it was a unique experience where for the first time I was actually heard, which was fantastic. Beginning to end, in terms of how did my project manager start to attack this project, it really started with compiling 25 years of data in terms of medical histories, lab tests, doctor's appointments, everything under the sun that had happened for the last quarter of a century, and then creating a macro timeline so we had a better understanding of a 30,000 foot view of what we were dealing with. Then there was the setting a baseline, so that required more testing just so we understood exactly where we were at this point in time. And then from there, it was running through their Rolodex, finding the best, not only physician, but just medical team to put me in touch with. So a body specialist to kind of review how I was operating. Was there residual damage in my muscles, joints, etc. that could also be partaking in this issue, and then starting to address that from the ground up. So for my project manager covering every aspect of this project, she really did take care of everything under the sun. And the funny thing is that I am a bit of a type A personality, so I like to have my hand in everything and in every area of the work. And so what was ironic is that if I had just been more hands-off, it would have gone, I mean, it went incredibly smoothly, but it would have been absolutely no effort on my part in terms of booking flights, hotels, housing. I mean, they legitimately offered to, if I had dietary or nutritional needs, to have a personalized chef come by the apartment and provide food or custom meals. So they will literally take care of everything you could potentially conceive. And I'm actually a little disappointed that I didn't fully utilize that function, but the bottom line is my project manager was incredible in taking care of everything from A to Z that I could have needed throughout the course of this project over the last 6 months, which has been terrific. Going forward, I will turn over the reins. She'll be allowed to book my tickets and truly control the itinerary and all aspects of the project. So 6 months in, how did I feel that the protocol was set up and how do I feel today? I thought the protocol that was put into motion was exceptional. In terms of reviewing this massive compilation of data on myself and then systematically breaking it apart, creating areas that we wanted to address, creating a treatment plan for that, and then how do I feel today? So I thought that part of the process was great. And then what's funny is that within about 4 months, I actually felt fantastic. I felt significantly better than I had over the last 3 or 4 years, which is obviously anecdotal until you look at the data, which in the target areas that we were addressing had improved anywhere from 20 to 50 to 70%, which in such a small window of time was unbelievable. And so now 6 months in, I have very high expectations for the next 6 months. Obviously, this was supposed to be a year process. And so I think that, the results were very, very fast, and I think that they're continuing to get better. So I'm very excited about what the future holds. So in terms of working with Scorpion and it being generally a remote organization, in all honesty, it wasn't at all an issue. My needs were constantly being tended to by my project manager, etc. But one of the benefits of working with Scorpion was the in-person aspect of it. So for my first meeting with my project manager and with my body specialist, it wasn't in an office somewhere, it was just over dinner, which was very relaxed, very personalized, which was fantastic. It's a totally different element than what you'll get with, well, at least for my particular case, most doctors or physicians. The second time that I got together with the group was about 4 months into the project. I actually flew out from Boston, met with my project manager, I met with Walter, I brought my parents with me, and we had just a terrific lunch. And again, it was the personalized nature of it that made it so great. We reviewed my case, how the project was going, etc., but obviously it was very relaxed, and so the conversation went just about to everything else under the sun. I mean, it really did get away from us at points, and myself, as well as I think my parents, just had our jaws dropped when we're talking with Walter about kind of the other projects that he's working on in his free time. And so it was a really fun lunch. It was very relaxed, and I mean, that is part of the element that you do get with Scorpion, is that personalized, family-like mentality and feel. Would I use Scorpion again? Absolutely. And in fact, I will continue to use them for who knows how long on any project that I can conceivably come up with, because they do truly handle everything. For anyone that's considering reaching out to Scorpion, my thought would be absolutely do it. There really is no downside. For my case in particular, it was very obscure. It didn't sound like anything they had done in the past And I simply put together a page of, here's my story, here's what I'm looking to accomplish, is this something you guys can work with? And I didn't have, tremendous expectations because it was so far outside of any of the stories I had heard from this group. But ultimately, they did get back to me very, very quickly and talked about my case. And so for anybody out there who's just considering reaching out, there really is no downside. I do truly believe they can probably handle anything. So what's the downside in reaching out?